What is up guys, my name is Agosto and today's video is pretty sweet. Firstly however, I wanted to apologise for the audio quality of all the previous videos. It turns out that the levels are always way off and far too quiet, which is really annoying. But instead of sobbing about it, I'm still learning and improving, and my video editing history only consists of making montages using Upload Studio on the Xbox One, so cut me some slack. By the way, if you get that reference, you're an absolute legend. Anyway, moving on to this week's video, I've had this idea brewing for quite a while now. Basically, a long time ago my girlfriend told me about this app called ROMWE, which is kind of like Wish but for more clothes, or at least that's how I see it. This wasn't what piqued my interest though. The designs on some of the clothing were what piqued my interest, since I found some of them really cool and I wanted to use these designs as inspiration for my own designs to put on a t-shirt. So I collected quite a few images of clothing that I liked and I began to design some ideas. I had 3 rough ideas and did 2 designs for each one. In this video we're going to be looking specifically at this design, but maybe I'll reveal the other 2 designs in upcoming videos. If you can't tell what this design is by the way, I don't blame you, but basically I wanted a forward facing skull with roses coming out of its head. So without further ado, let's get into this. To start, I obviously found some reference images and I very roughly put them together. All the photos I use in this video, I'll link the websites they're from in the description if you would like to check them out for yourself. I began with the skull since I thought it would be the easiest part to do and I only needed one side because then I would copy it and flip it. Now obviously I'm creating all these shapes with filled colours. I had planned to always change this to just be the strokes, but for whatever reason I thought it would be easier to start with them all filled. Spoiler alert, turns out it wasn't easier. So soon you'll see this changed. As you can see here, I flipped the skull around to see what it looks like, and I'm merging some of the elements to decrease the amount of layers. Now, as mentioned before, I'm playing with the stroke to see how this will look. For a little while, you'll see me going around the image, just making a few adjustments here and there to clean things up. However, in a minute, you'll see I decide to go back a few steps, since I figure out I want to make changes to the teeth, and it would be easier to do it on one side, rather than to edit both sides. I now start to mess with the teeth and try to blend them in better with the lines. Unfortunately my lack of Illustrator experience made this whole process really slow though, so if there is a quicker way of doing this, please let me know, I would greatly appreciate that. Here I've copied and flipped the right side to see how the skull looks as a whole. In a second, I go back and change what I think doesn't work and repeat this till I have a skull that I'm happy with. Because this flip technique is so useful, I don't want to flip the skull and merge it, then realise there's something I don't like and have to change it on both sides rather than just one. To get around this, I decided to only duplicate the area around the skull so that I know what the general shape is, but none of the details get duplicated, which saves me a lot of hassle before I move on to the roses. The roses really weren't easy, These took a lot of time since the shape of the rose is quite complex. Luckily, I could be fairly minimal with the design of the rose because of the nature of the style I was going for, but as mentioned, this still took a lot of time to do. By the way, I really didn't know what I was doing with these roses. I had no idea how to replicate the shape, and so I just kept on experimenting and trying different things. You've likely noticed that once again, just like the skull, I've produced these roses with a filled colour. I do change this just to be the stroke to match the skull, but it was actually a good decision to fill the shape before doing the stroke this time, since as you will see, with the strokes showing at the same time, it looked quite confusing at first. Do you see what I mean? That really threw me off at first, but once I realised what stroke was part of what shape, I soon managed to clean up the lines, and I then duplicated this to save some time. I also made some small tweaks to the copied versions just so that they're slightly different. Here I gave this rose another go. I didn't want all the roses to look the same, but bloody hell the roses were a challenge. I really had to think about how the shape of a rose worked and how the petals formed to create a shape that actually looks like a rose. This generally felt like it took forever, but the end result I get isn't actually too bad, and I guess I'm pretty happy with it. I now begin to actually get to a place that reflects what I had envisioned from the moment I started my idea. I make a bunch of small changes to mostly clean up the lines, and suddenly I have a really cool idea to add vines going in and around the skull, which I begin to work on in a moment. I decided to change one of the roses since it didn't feel quite like it fit, and from here it was minor adjustments to make the overall piece look as good as I could. And this is the final result. As a piece of art, I'm very happy with it, but how does it look on a t-shirt? Well, very good is apparently the answer. I'm super happy with how this turned out, and I've now added this to my Spring store in case you want the design yourself. Just to let you guys know, I actually have a jumper from Spring with one of my own designs on it. In case you're wondering, I'm happy with the quality overall, though it is a bit small, the print could be a tiny bit sharper, and there's a kind of like tiny small hole that's forming around my collar, though you don't really notice it to be honest. I just thought I'd throw that in there to give you guys my opinion, and also, could anyone please tell me if they think the premium t-shirt is worth the extra price? See, I want people to wear my designs, but I don't want to charge them a ludicrous price. The classic t-shirt is the cheapest I can make cheap, but I don't know how much lower the quality is compared to the premium t-shirt, so I don't know if that price difference is even worth it. What would you guys prefer? Wear an item of clothing that's cheaper but less quality, or something more expensive but higher quality? I don't know, I seriously want your guys' feedback on this, and then I can make the changes as necessary. I also know there aren't many designs on my store just yet, but I seriously want to make some more cool designs, and I don't want to make any YouTube merchandise. I just want to make cool designs that I want to wear personally, or that I think other people would absolutely love to wear. Anyway, this video's audio has taken way too long to record, so I'm going to leave it there guys. If you want to see more from me, I've got some good stuff coming, so stick around, maybe subscribe, I don't know, do whatever you like. But in the meantime, I'll see you guys later. Cheers.